We all hope to excel in life. Either in our careers or in our personal relationships, most people aspire to accomplish great feats. But a handful of individuals transcend these goals and manage to attain seemingly impossible achievements. From rock climbers to mathematicians and magicians, we're counting down the top 10 most impressive humans ever to live. Tai Ngoc has been living in a kind of purgatory for more than 40 years. In 1973, when he was a young man, Ngoc experienced a severe fever. The illness caused him to become delirious and likely brought his brain to unsafe temperatures. Though he has recovered from the fever, there is one lingering side effect. Ngoc claims that he has not slept since the fever abated. While this would kill a normal person, experts believe that he practices an involuntary version of microsleep, wherein he nods off for seconds at a time, never long enough to constitute a real rest, but just enough to keep him alive. He has of course tried numerous home remedies and potions to help him sleep, but nothing was effective. For years, he tried to drown his lucid mind in alcohol, but this was fruitless as well. Now 77 years old, Ngoc continues to live in his native Vietnam, where he's a pig farmer, carrying 100-pound sacks of pig feed every day to keep his livestock thriving. Add to this a daily 6-mile walk and you have the foundation of a challenging routine. Imagine doing this after 12,000 nights of bad sleep. Daniel Tammet is impressive in a very different way. He is a British autistic savant with a unique talent for mathematics and memorization. He first came to worldwide attention in March 2004 on International Pi Day, when he recited from memory pi to 22,514 decimal places. It took over 5 hours and set a new European record. There are still many things scientists do not know about his condition and mysterious brain. Born in 1979, Tammet has linguistic, numerical, and visual synesthesia. This means that his perception of words, numbers, and colors are woven together into a new way of perceiving the world. An epileptic, Tammet had a series of seizures when he was growing up that he credits as the catalyst for his mysterious mind. In addition to number and massive memory skills, Daniel has exceptional language skills as well. He speaks French, German, Spanish, Lithuanian, Esperanto, and Icelandic. He learned the difficult Icelandic language in 7 days, which was carefully documented in the 1-hour film about Daniel titled Brain Man. Now Tammet uses his powers for education. He has a popular website where he tries to teach people the secrets of his impressive mental capabilities. Recently immortalized in the highly acclaimed documentary Free Solo, Alex Honnold is quickly becoming a household name. That's because he was the first person to successfully climb El Capitan, one of the hardest climbs in the world, with no ropes or safety equipment. Fans describe the feat as Herculean and death-defying. Many of Honnold's peers died on similar climbs, and for 3 straight hours he risked falling thousands of feet to his death. Free Solo went on to win the Oscar for Best Documentary and grossed $21.8 million. Honnold is a professional athlete with numerous corporate sponsorships with brands like North Face, La Sportiva, and Black Diamond. But even with a ton of cash reserves, Honnold still prefers a simple life. Alex Honnold has lived in a camping bus since the beginning of his career. He says it's what's most practical for him. In his van, he can travel from climbing area to climbing area and remain independent. At the start of his career, he drove in his family's old bus. Nowadays, he owns a bus that's a bit bigger and somewhat more comfortable. It also has an integrated campus board for climbing-specific strength training. He also recently bought a small home near Las Vegas and donates about 1/3 of his income annually to charities around the world. Miroslav Magola, aka Magnetic Man, is a magician who tests the limits of believability. He was born on May 29, 1958 in Poland, the youngest of 3 children. His father's roots originate in Mongolia. His mother is of aristocratic blood of the Sibirowski clan. A tragic motorcycle accident when Miroslav was 2 left him fatherless. His mother migrated repeatedly after his death, finally settling down in 1972 in northeastern Poland. In college, Magola's political activism got him incarcerated, and he was forced to flee Poland and travel the world. He spent time in China, India, Tibet, the Middle East, and Africa. This broad cultural horizon caused Miroslav to search for universal truths. By 1992, he developed an interest in psychokinesis and the secrets of the human mind, which he vigorously pursues with much success. Featured on numerous television shows, Magola is able to move metal objects by harnessing his own electromagnetic energy. In 2010, he was shown on Stan Lee's Superhumans television documentary, aired on the History Channel, Discovery Channel, and in 2015 on NBC Universo. He can pull pots and pans across the room and stick everyday objects to his head with no adhesive. No one is sure how he accomplishes these tricks, but it's clear he has a special and singular talent. Born in London in 1974, Stephen Wiltshire was diagnosed with autism at age 3. As a child, he had no speech. Attempts at communication were only sounds and murmurs. Today, the Stephen Wiltshire Gallery in the Royal Opera Arcade in London is a permanent exhibit of his wonderful drawings. Stephen's impact has been so pervasive that in 2006, Queen Elizabeth II made him a member of the Order of the British Empire in recognition of his contribution of services to the art world. Beyond the specifics of his craft, Wiltshire is able to draw an entire landscape from memory after only seeing it for a handful of seconds. Wiltshire got his first commission at age 8 and has been on a meteoric trajectory ever since then. Wiltshire's work has been the subject of many TV documentaries. Renowned neurologist Oliver Sacks wrote about him in a chapter on prodigies in his book An Anthropologist on Mars. In 1989, Wiltshire appeared on the cover of You magazine with actor Dustin Hoffman, who had portrayed autistic savant Raymond Babbitt in the 1988 Oscar-winning film Rain Man, which Wiltshire considers to be one of his favorite movies. Wiltshire continues his art practice to this day. Recently, he has been hired by a number of municipalities in Singapore to document their cities. Eskil Rune Bakken is a Norwegian balancing artist with an impressive resume. Rune Bakken travels the world performing balancing acts at the top of lethal drops, such as canyons and cliffs. His acts include tightrope walking between 2 hot air balloons in flight and doing a handstand on a pile of chairs balanced on a rock wedged in a crevice between 2 cliffs that were 3,500 feet tall. He practices yoga, meditation, and breathing techniques to stay focused and prepares extensively for each act. Rune Bakken even hopes to balance on top of the Burj Khalifa, the tallest building in the world. Explaining his motives, he says, "When you only have 5 fingers touching the building, you feel like you're flying." Experts expect wind speed will affect his ability to perform safely, as the building sways slightly in high winds, but that doesn't seem to intimidate him. These days, he gives workshops around the world. What's on his bucket list this year? Balancing atop Machu Picchu in Peru and Angel Falls in Venezuela. Rune Bakken supports himself through endorsement deals, classes, and his highly popular YouTube channel. The artist knew that he wanted to be a balancing performer at a very young age. In fact, he joined the circus when he was only 12 years old. After this, he worked extensively in Norway before bringing his act global. Dr. Leonid Rogozov would likely rather be famous for another reason. When the Russian explorer needed an appendectomy in the middle of Antarctica, he was the only doctor on site, so he did it himself. It was 1961 and the Cold War was in full swing. Leonid Rogozov was a member of the 12-man Soviet Antarctic expedition sent to build a research base at the Schumacher Oasis. Rogozov was left behind to care for the camp, but it quickly became apparent that he was unwell. The doctor was deeply nauseous and soon diagnosed himself with appendicitis. On April 30th, the surgery started. Leonid was assisted by meteorologist Alexander Artemyev, who helped with the medical instruments, and mechanical engineer Zinovy Teplinsky, who held a mirror and a lamp. Rogozov was in semi-prone position on the left side. After injecting a local anesthesia with Novocaine, he made a 12-centimeter incision in the right iliac region. Partly with the help of the mirror and partly by touch, he started to search for his appendix. The sight of Leonid Rogozov searching for the appendix in his guts almost caused his assistants to faint. Station head Vladislav Gerbovich, who also attended the surgery, recalled that the 2 assistants were whiter than a sheet, but made great efforts to stay calm. Rogozov received a Medal of Honor for his heroic deeds. Adrian Cart may be the most unkillable soldier to ever live. For most soldiers, the loss of their left eye and left hand would be enough to force them to retire from battlefield service. Not so for Belgian-born British Army officer Sir Adrian Cart. Over the course of 4 conflicts, he sustained 11 grievous injuries, which included being shot in the face, head, hand, stomach, leg, groin, and ankle. As if that wasn't enough, he survived numerous plane crashes, made multiple escape attempts from an Italian POW camp, and broke his back. It did not end there. He was also shot in the hip at the Battle of Passchendaele. What remained of his left ear was shot off at the Battle of Arras, and he was shot in the leg at the Battle of Cambrai. Despite everything, he later said, "Frankly, I enjoyed the war." In his memoir, he recalled his thoughts when the Second Boer War broke out between Britain and 2 Boer states of South Africa in 1899. "At that moment, I knew once and for all that war was in my blood. If the British didn't fancy me, I would offer myself to the Boers." Despite his numerous wounds, Cart lived to the ripe old age of 83 and died of natural causes. Javaris Callipygian is an Armenian athlete who excels at fin swimming, a challenging sport that involves diving to great depths with sophisticated fins, and he was one of the best. He is the 11-time world record holder, 17-time world champion, 13-time European champion, and 7-time USSR champion. But in 1976, he became even better known for an act of heroism. The exact cause of the accident involving one of Yerevan's trolley buses on the chilly morning of September 16, 1976 remains unknown. Some said one of the passengers attacked the driver after a heated verbal exchange, causing him to lose control of the vehicle. Others claim the driver had a heart attack. As it entered a bridge in central Yerevan, the trolley bus veered off course and rolled downhill into a water reservoir known as Yerevan Lake. The noise of the crash drew the attention of athletes practicing nearby, a then 23-year-old Callipygian. Callipygian managed to rescue 20 people, but this ended his sports career. The combined effect of cold water and the multiple lacerations from glass shards left him unconscious for 45 days. Subsequent sepsis due to the presence of raw sewage in the lake water and lung complications prevented him from continuing his sports career. This was a truly selfless act by an inspiring athlete. Lieutenant Colonel John "Mad Jack" Churchill had a motto: "Any officer who goes into action without his sword is improperly dressed." He was referring, of course, to the basket-hilted Scottish broadsword that he armed himself with during battle. And no, Mad Jack Churchill was not a Viking warrior or a medieval knight. He was a British Army officer who fought during World War II. Believe it or not, Mad Jack insisted on fighting in the Second World War with only a sword, a longbow, and his trusty bagpipes. He even survived multiple explosions, escaped a couple of POW camps, captured more than 40 Germans at sword point in just one raid, and in 1940 made the last recorded longbow kill in history. His friends maintain that he was much deadlier with a sword than most men were with a machine gun. While some people believe he had a death wish, Churchill died peacefully at the age of 89 in his native England. Apparently the Nazis were no match for Mad Jack after all.